All right, today I figured we'd talk taking max loss on the day because I took max loss today. And really, it's not that big of a deal. And the more you trade and the more you accept a max loss for the day, or as some people call, I think, DRB, daily risk budget, you're good to go. Right? It sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty upset about it. And I haven't had one in well over a month. So I'm kind of due for a jab in the nose because after a couple green days, you start to think, oh, this shit's easy. But then you get slapped around. I want to show you the trades today. Show you the trades in hindsight that I maybe could have taken and how I structure my daily risk budget for the day. And frankly, how I hit that daily max budget. Okay, so this is day 2 of trading 5 25K evals. I just want to show you how I mark my charts quick in case you didn't catch the video yesterday. I'm going to do this every single day with what's going on. I mark the high and the low of the session. Pretty much that tells me if we are out of day up, out of day down. Really, all that tells me is out of day up, I do not take any shorts. This was an out of day down to open, and then we came back up into the range. The other thing that I marked from the previous session is yesterday's VWAP. So that's yesterday's VPOC, right? The point of control from yesterday. I like to mark that as a level, which actually turned out to be our session highs. We woke up at 6 p.m. yesterday, pretty much dumped, and then a nice V bottom after the open, which made today a little bit interesting for a day. This was one of the first times in months that I've seen when we opened up the ATR be over 1. We were at like 950 something points on the Dow just when we opened up, which is tough. So let's zoom in and kind of look at the trades, and I'll tell you, you can see at the bottom exactly what my DRB is, but we'll discuss that number in a second. Pretty much the market opens. I like to stay sitting on my hands for the first little bit as the market opens. We pretty much open right at the standard deviation -1, popped into what some would consider, maybe this is close enough for you. If you're not going right to the line, that's fine. I personally don't take entries at VWAP. I just use them as targets. We came down and flushed through, and I guess this would have been the first opportunity if you thought that this was close enough. Now, this is where nuance and things come into this mean reversion strategy. I generally do not like to trade into a target that hasn't really been touched yet for the day. So when we got here, yes, we hit -1. I did not take this trade because we had not seen VWAP yet for the day. Now we came in, and this was also early on in the day, maybe later in the session, this might have been a trade that I would take, but I want to see it come from the target first, which we'll talk as we move through. These are all 5-minute candles. Then we pretty much just continued to pull down, but never really got to that standard 2 deviation, which was my first target. That -2 was my first target for a long. I'm playing longs off of -2, -1. I'm playing shorts off of +1 and +2. I guess what some would say, and if you've been trading this mean reversion strategy, or if you're familiar, you could tell me if you would have taken this trade in particular. I know people that would have taken maybe this wick right here and targeted VWAP. The reason why I did not do that, one, I like rejections into my longs and rejections into my shorts. That's just the style that I prefer. I don't really love this continuation through a standard deviation, which maybe I need to change. But the real main reason is that we hadn't seen VWAP yet. And some would argue, well, that's more the reason that we should have seen VWAP. It should have been going there. But if we think about context, everything is good in hindsight. But if we look at where we were at that point in the day, we were pretty much straight down off of last night's open. So there was a part of me that was a little biased, like, are we going to have a dump day, especially being out of day down? Where are we going to mess around here on the 1 deviation and then go down and see -2? Frankly, it was just too early in the day for me to take that trade. Now, in hindsight, you call me a donkey because it looks like that trade worked out wonderfully, but I did not take this trade for that reason. What I was hoping, as we saw it come right into VWAP, was, all right, now we're going to come down and touch the -1 and then continue to play towards the upside, targeting VWAP again. That didn't happen. It just came right through, and I was like, okay, I am going to take my short now. We've come from VWAP. I can now target VWAP, and we can see how strict I am really with my lines. I did not take this trade here, and we can see where I took entry right here. We had a little bit of pullback, a little bit into it. This is my setup. This is the setup that I want to take. I'm happy with it. This was for 1 micro. I take 1 micro at the 1s, and I take 2 micros at the 2s for 3 max contracts total. All right, so we continued, we chopped around, and then we just continued as we did from that V bottom, just grind higher. And someone say I'm adding to my loser here by adding at -2. Yes, I was in a losing position, but it stuck with my plan. If I did not have this 1 contract on here, I would have taken this -2. So just because I had 1 on previously, that's why I've allotted myself as 3 contracts max. I know that when I take this trade at +1, I know that it is a possibility that I'm going to need to take 2 more, and then I factor my stop loss off of that, which is pretty tight, and we can see that's what ended up happening here. There's a couple things that sting here, right? We came up, I took more heat, and then I think once this opened, the break even was like right here. We touched break even. I did not close the trade. For me to close the trade there would have to be a reason why I thought my analysis or my strategy was wrong, where at that point it wasn't. We had point of control flip up there on this huge market order, whatever this order was. So we're rejecting over that, rejecting all the +2. It's doing finally what I wanted it to do. So I still had my target down here at the +1. Didn't work out. Bounced back up. Came back into point of control. Came back down again. Touched my break even again. I'm not getting out of this trade. I want to target VWAP. That is my target, and I'm willing to take it. Came back up. We closed that candle. Came down even a little bit further. At that point, I will say, all right, we're getting towards the end of the day. It's a time for me to take some contracts off. But no, like I said, I've had my best success when I set up my plan and I stick to it, win or lose. So many times I break even here, and then 10 minutes later, it hits VWAP. Frankly, that hurts more for me, especially after sitting in a trade for 2 hours, than taking this stop. I have to be completely honest. If I would have taken a break even and watched it come down and hit my target, that would have hurt more than sticking to my plan and saying, when I take this trade on, I am taking the risk that I'm going to lose a certain amount of money. Now, generally, let's talk about the losses. I have a daily loss limit of $250, non-negotiable. I'm just not going to go over that. And I hit about 2, maybe 3 of those a month. And shit, it's early in the month, so this might be one of those times where I hit 3. I know that trading the 25 has 1,000 drawdown, and I've heard many people say, take 10% of that, so $100. I just switched to 25s after trading 50K accounts for so long because they got rid of on Apex the fact that you can go on more than a month. So the fact that I can only have a month now trading micros, it's going to be really, really hard in my strategy without YOLOing to pass. But I'm still comfortable, especially knowing how many max loss days I take and knowing that I can actually not have a tilt day and I actually stop. I'm able to say, okay, I think because I have to have 4 of those in a row. And frankly, if I have 4 max loss days in a row, I'm not seeing something right or the markets don't favor my strategy. And I probably need a week or 2 off anyway to reset for all things considered. So the 1 contract here, I lost 172. And then these ones, I lost 170. Stopped me out at 145 with some fees. That's okay. Pretty much lost all of day 1 and then some. The account is now sitting at 24,956. So I need to make 1,550 back. And yeah, and as we see, just like you could take off and then the market's always going to move, right? This could have been a top tick exit and then it could have flushed, but it didn't. It kept continuing to climb. And frankly, we're getting towards the end of the day. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow we grind it up today and we hit yesterday's session point of control and also maybe tested the high of the session when we opened. But like I said, this is a max loss day, guys. I want to say it is way more important, in my opinion, to have strict max loss days that you can stick to than any strategy in the world. I've changed my strategies over the last 5 years of doing this. I've changed my strategy. I've done supply and demand. I've done break and retest. I've done trend lines. I've done this. And sticking with this, which has helped me stick to a firm stop loss, firm stop on the day, that has made my trading successful, not this strategy. This strategy is great, but the best thing about this strategy and why I've done well in this strategy as opposed to all the other things I've tried is the ability to recognize when you suck on the day, when things suck. Now, I want to mention too, if this was earlier in the day, right? This right now was 12:15. If it was earlier in the day, I probably would have taken a smaller stop earlier. I do not want to use my max daily loss budget on one trade. I don't want to do that. But knowing that I was getting towards the end of the day and the likelihood I was going to open or have the possibility for a second trade, right? Because for Apex, we have to be closed by end of day. Knowing that, I was like, I'm going to risk up. But if this trade was happening 9, 10 in the morning, I'm probably going to stop at maybe half my DRB or even maybe 30%. Probably stop myself out around $100 and then say, all right, we have the rest of the session to work into that. So I'm not trying to lose 250 on one trade, just the time of day and where it happened. Boom. Now, as far as the rest of the day and like people ask like, how do you deal with it mentally? It's just part of this, right? Sometimes you hit the post. Sometimes you miss by an inch. Sometimes you get stopped at talk tit and then it drops against you. Sometimes you enter right at the bottom though and it pumps in your favor. This part of the game you play. If you think you're going to get through this thing on all green days, especially in a small micro strategy like this, you're not. And if you do, I mean, I guess you're a sorcery, a wizard. Okay, so I'm down 250. Now I just close my computers and I reopen them tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning when I check to see what the range is and what percentage of the ATR we're at. And then we go about tomorrow and we try and hit max gain or we hit max loss again and then we move on. I hope it helps. How do you guys manage it? And I also want to know, would you have taken this -1 trade if you do this strategy? Is that a trade? Would you have taken that continuation out of this zone into that one? That is one thing that I am thinking about often. I see it happen a lot where I probably should have taken that trade and it worked out for me. And it would have worked out for me, but it didn't. But maybe I'm just being greedy. I don't know. You let me know in the comments. This is the one that I might think about. Should I have taken this trade here today? All right, guys. I hope that helps. I'll see you tomorrow, day 3. Hopefully not another red day tomorrow.